The Ford Explorer has been the staple of the American family SUV for nearly 30 years, so an all-new version is bound to get a lot of people's heads spinning. I'm at the 2019 Detroit International Auto Show, and this is the all-new 6th generation 2020 Explorer. Let's take a first look. So for the all-new 6th generation Explorer, Ford has made a lot of changes to this vehicle, especially when you look underneath the platform. Even though the design of the car isn't really all that different, let's start with the actual look of this particular one. Ford is introducing a first ever Ford Explorer ST. This is a performance version of the Explorer, and it's basically the most powerful Explorer Ford has ever done. You can see it's got its own unique front fascia. You can see this is the new corporate face of the Explorer. It's got this kind of mesh finish in the grille with an ST logo. It's very similar to what we've seen in the new Edge ST. These LED headlights, as you can see, are standard. You have these LED running lights here at the lower fascia, and then a couple of more piano black accents trim to give this vehicle a slightly more aggressive look. Now this, in addition to the new hybrid, are the new options for the Explorer for the 2020 model year. Now underneath the hood, Ford isn't saying, or isn't allowing us to pop the hood right now. The Explorer ST has the most powerful engine ever in this vehicle. It's a 3-liter twin turbocharged V6 with 400 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque. Now those numbers are practically identical to the Explorer's platform mate, the Lincoln Aviator. This is riding on that same rear drive architecture as the Aviator. The hybrid model is going to be a completely different powertrain. That has a 3.3 liter V6 naturally aspirated with offers around 318 horsepower. Ford didn't have any fuel economy information for that model yet, but they did say that that vehicle will go about 500 miles on a full tank for the rear drive model. So for the rest of the side profile, I've switched over to this hybrid model to show you guys some of the differences with the hybrid. Now, in terms of the wheel sizes, the hybrid comes with kind of a lower profile tire. The Explorer offers a range between like an 18-inch all the way up to a 21-inch wheel on the ST with like a 275-inch tire. These are again more for fuel economy minded performance. These are kind of like a polished wheel to kind of give this vehicle a more luxury look to it. Now, in terms of the size, this next generation Explorer, as I said, rides on an all-new rear drive architecture, and Ford says that they lengthened the wheelbase by about 4 inches to give you guys more interior space, which was a common complaint with the previous generation. In terms of the overall length, Ford only stretched it about 2 inches, so it's not that much larger. The Explorer didn't really need to be. This is still around 198 inches long. It's one of the larger offerings in the segment, about 4 inches longer than something like the new Honda Pilot, for example. Now at the rear of the refreshed Explorer, again, the look is very familiar. You can see Ford has an LED combination taillight where it looks like the turn signal and reverse lights are an LED. The hybrid has this very subtle badge with dual exhaust tips, and then the ST version back there has quad exhaust, so it kind of gives the Explorer a little bit more of a performance look, which is something that you definitely want in a vehicle like this. Now looking at the cargo area, Ford actually made the powered tailgate as standard. They said that this was the most wanted feature from their customers who bought an Explorer, and they also basically kept the cargo area very competitive. The space is around 18.1 cubic feet of space with the third row up. If you fold down those seats, it expands to a little over 52 cubic feet, and then if you fold down the third row as well, or the second row, you're going to get around 87 cubic feet of space. So very competitive numbers. Ford has basically given us more interior space when they redesigned it to a rear drive platform. So moving into the interior of the redesigned Explorer, I have to say this is probably an area where Ford seriously made some big changes. The previous generation just had an interior that was dated. Even though the outside doesn't look that much different, this is just completely new. Now, one thing you're gonna notice, there's a big infotainment screen here that kind of sticks out. It's got that new tablet style look. This is actually, if you can believe it, the smaller 8-inch offering. Ford also offers a 12-inch portrait style display on their upper trims, and it basically looks like you've tacked an iPad portrait style in the dash. So some of you may not like that. I actually think this interior looks nice. The old one kind of felt cramped. They've really opened it up and made it more airy. It's got soft touch materials on the door panels here, on the dashboard. On this lower portion, it's even soft touch. You have this imitation wood. I believe it's fake, although it definitely has a nice, interesting texture to it. And then the door panels here are also soft touch, which is nice. A lot of the switchgear in here you can see is the newest Ford switch here. You have this transmission selector that controls the 10-speed transmission. All the Explorers now come with 10-speed autos. You have some good storage here. Big cup holders. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay is standard. You have a new infotainment screen, which this one actually has the standard gauges. Ford also offers a reconfigurable 12-inch display if you guys, again, go for the higher trims. There's an all-new steering wheel here with paddle shifters. The seats are heated and cooled. This one has like a 12-way power. I mean, overall, Ford's really upgraded the interior. I mean, basically everything that I loved about that new Lincoln Aviator doesn't really carry over here. You can see there's some hints of luxury in here. So if you guys can get past that tablet style screen, I think a lot of you are gonna really like this new interior. It's a huge improvement. But let's hop into the second and the third row and see how this compares to the rest of the class. So getting into the second row of the Explorer, you can see this one that I'm sitting in, the hybrid, has the bench seats here. Ford does not offer the Explorer with up to 8 passenger seating. So this is the 7-passenger configuration. If you guys get the captain's chairs, it drops it down to 6. So that could be an issue if you guys are looking for 8-passenger capability. Now, in terms of the space, there is very good foot space here. The floor is almost nearly flat, so you could put 3 people across. You have heated seats back here. You have your own set of climate controls. You're another USB, 2 USBs, a USB-C, and then the older USB port, along with a power outlet. And then this panoramic sunroof kind of goes over to the second row. It's most likely a $2,000 option if you guys base it off the old Explorer. And then you have this nice little armrest that folds down. And then surprisingly, Ford gives you rear seat sunshades. You have soft touch materials on the door panel. So the second row is definitely a nice place to spend time. I probably would just maybe option in a lighter interior color to kind of brighten it up. This is a little bit on the darker side. But the biggest test with these vehicles is the third row. So let's hop back there and see if there's actually any space for an adult. So when you want to get into the third row, Ford basically gives you a lever right here that you can kind of pull. The seat will kind of move forward. Now, they actually asked me not to get back into the third row because of safety issues. Not sure what that is. But in terms of the space, you can see the floor is a little bit on the flatter side here. But unfortunately, since I can't get back here, I can't exactly say if it is roomy. I will say that I am disappointed that they didn't decide to widen this vehicle to allow for 3 people to sit across. But it looks like the space back here, there is actually some foot space underneath the front seats. Could be tolerable. Which I'll have to confirm that when I actually drive this vehicle and test it at a later date. Now, this all-new Explorer is supposed to go on sale in the spring of 2019, so just another couple of months. With no pricing yet announced, I'm gonna assume that that ST is probably gonna be the most expensive model. I mean, the current Explorer starts around $30,000, so I would expect it to be very similar to that, and then maybe go into the mid $50,000 range for the full-loaded model. For Redline Reviews at the 2019 Detroit International Auto Show, I'm Sokyung Bae. Liter V6 naturally aspirated with offers around 318 horsepower. Ford didn't have any fuel economy information for that model yet. They did say Can I redo that? But they did say, can I do that?